Present.
Present.
Kate McKinney?
Here.
Deb Olson?
Here.
Aaron Birch?
Here.
Marcia Schurz?
Here.
Paul Johnson?
Here.
Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I make that motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that. I'll make the motion. I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Second. Oh, you got it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Move on to board reports. I'll give a brief overview of the Committee of the Whole, which was held on March 2nd of this month. We had a CISA 10 presentation on the construction process and the CISA contract. We will be voting on that this evening. We had a referendum update. We've had a variety of presentations given, and I believe we'll get a report on that later this evening. The 21st Century Community Learning Centers, CLC, update was given by Karen Collins. The Spunder Elementary School English Language Arts Math Interventionist proposal was given, and that we're going to vote on that this evening. The Spunder High School Improvement Plan presentation was given. The Spunder High School Link Crew presentation was also given. We considered the purchase of Illuminate Education DNA program package, which will appear tonight on our board meeting. We also considered the early college credit program and Start College Now applications. Again, tonight we will see them. We considered the 2020-2021 teacher contracts, which will appear this evening as well. We considered the Spunder Elementary School Life Touch Yearbook contract for this next year, and as well as the middle school yearbook contract. We are considering our CISA 10 and 11 service contracts this evening. That was discussed at the Committee of the Whole as well. And our Neola Volume 29, Number 1 Policy Update Bunch. That appears this evening for our first reading. We had a financial update, and we received a planning cycle. Also looked at the vouchers. Does anyone have anything else to add? Again, you can access that video if you want to hear more about what happened at that meeting. All right, we will be moving on to administrative reports, which there are none this evening.
They're not in there this evening.
Okay. We'll move on to discussion and action. Item A is to consider the executive order for school closing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Community comments.
Oh, my mistake. Community comments. Thank you. Jonna Klein.
I just typed out my comments because I wanted to be organized with my thoughts.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Spunder School Board. Tonight I would like to share a concern considering agenda discussion / action item letter H. Spunder Elementary ELA Math Interventionist. While I don't necessarily have a problem with the position, I do have a problem with the proposed way it will be created and filled. Because our incoming fourth grade class is a bit smaller than the administration's proposal is to narrow fourth grade to 3 sections next year. This would involve moving a second grade teacher into the interventionalist position and putting a current fourth grade teacher into second grade, or that's the way it's been explained to me. I love the idea of no one losing their job due to narrowing fourth grade to 3 sections. However, knowing the current third grade class as well as I do, because my daughter is a part of the class and I have been volunteering in her room over the last 4 years, and I am a frequent district substitute teacher, I have great concern about this change. In my estimate, this would put approximately 24 students in each classroom, which makes for a big class and a large responsibility for the teacher in and of itself. The larger difficulty comes with how many major discipline challenges are in the current third grade class. The current third grade class has always had discipline issues, as does every group, but unfortunately they have more than their share. If you ask any teacher who has already had this group or any paraprofessional who supervises them in the lunchroom or the playground, they can attest to this. There are at least 8 students who are, in my mind and several teachers' minds, a major discipline issue. Yes, over the last few years, some of them have matured more than others. However, they still have a ways to go and are still a daily challenge in the classroom, sometimes causing classroom evacuation or calling of Principal Hopke or the disciplinary team over the walkie-talkie. Of course, beyond these students with major behavior issues, there are several students who keep teachers busy with minor behaviors daily as well. To be honest, depending on the makeup of my daughter's class, there have been times that I have been scared for her safety around a few of these students. Therein lies my concern. I do not think it's a good choice to narrow down the class sections so that we have larger classes and each classroom will have at least 2 major behavior issue students, and 2 out of 3 of those classrooms will have 3 major behavior issue students. For those of you on the board who have taught, volunteered in classrooms, or have students who have reported things to you at home, you know how impactful students with major behavior issues and discipline problems can be to a child's learning. Without a behavioral interventionalist, someone who can remove these students from their classrooms when they become disruptive and a distraction from others' learning, I do not see how narrowing the 4th grade to 3 sections next year can have a positive result for the education of the incoming 4th graders, the teacher's sanity, and a feeling of safety and well-being for the students in each of these crowded classrooms.
Mrs. Klein.
Yes.
Can I
Is there a
pause?
time limit?
Yes, but you've got the floor for 45 minutes because you're the only one signed up. Just in the next paragraph, you've mentioned some individual employees by
Okay.
name, and what's written here isn't appropriate to read at this venue.
Got it.
If you want to
Thank you.
summarize without
Yes.
naming names.
That sounds good. Thank you. So, from what I understand, there's been some consideration by staff members, and I'm just wanting to be sure that the staff members involved in the decision-making, that each of them has a full grasp on how the student behavior truly is. Maybe they've had a chance to actually witness it, and I know some of them have, and I don't believe others have not. So thanks for a chance for me to express my concern. I know I'm not the only one who shares these thoughts, opinions, and concerns, and I hope the board will take these under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you. And there are no other individuals signed up for community comments. We'll be moving on to discussion and action. Item A, to consider the executive order for school closing.
So, very rapidly evolving situation in our state, in our country, and in our world. You have a revised recommendation for resolution, and it's the administrative recommendation that you adopt this resolution at this meeting.
I will entertain a motion that we adopt this executive order.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Do we need to read that so viewers would know what that is,
Yes.
that short statement?
And the revision comes from the change in date today by Governor Evers. Be it resolved that the Spunder Area School District will suspend all curricular and extracurricular activities effective at 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, March 17th, 2020 through April 5th, 2020 as per Governor Evers' executive order of March 16th, 2020. School buildings will open until 1 p.m. Tuesday, March 17th for parents and staff members to pick up any needed supplies and materials. All district buildings will be closed to everyone but mission essential staff from 1 p.m. March 17th until March 27th. No student or general public access to school buildings is authorized for the duration of the closing. Staff access begins on March 27th. Staff access beginning on March 27th will be evaluated and a determination made based on the situation at that time. The anticipated reopening date of school is April 6th, 2020, but this will be reevaluated as updated information becomes available. District administration is authorized to modify or extend the duration of the closing as updated information becomes available. Be this resolved on this 16th day of March 2020 by order of the Spunder Area School District School Board.
Thank you.
Do we need a roll call vote?
Yeah, you should have a roll call.
Roll call vote for this.
Robert Mullen,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
We'll be moving on to item B to consider the plans for continuity of services.
Hold on, I apologize. This is the food service. Yep. So, as Dr. Eslin mentioned, this is an ever-evolving situation. One of the items that we believe is essential is continuing to provide food service for those families in need, or any families, actually. It will be open to anybody 18 years or younger. Yeah, 18 years old or younger. The plan was presented to the board with the outlining dates and times for pickup for those non-perishable items. That will go into effect on Wednesday. Unfortunately, with the short notice today, we weren't able to put that in effect for tomorrow, although we will have bagged breakfasts available for students and those community members who would like them in each of the buildings tomorrow morning. So we are looking for the board to adopt this schedule, and the staff needed to facilitate this.
So the academic part, that one didn't make it into this item.
I don't believe it's on this item.
Okay.
Do you want to speak to it?
I do want to
Okay.
speak to it. So in conjunction with the food service and that continuity of that critical service that we provide to children, just want to provide you with information on the academic side, and that is that learning that has gone home with children will either be an extension of learning that has currently been taking place in the classroom or enrichment. For the foreseeable future, we will not be introducing new learning material, and that is subject to change based on what the length of the shutdown will be. At this time, we are awaiting further guidance on how to meet the federal standard for providing a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment for children who receive services under individualized educational plans. So at this point, we are not in a position to be introducing new material and providing those required services. Again, this is a rapidly evolving situation. Based on the length of the shutdown, administration will be working to develop plans and as that situation moves forward and more guidance at the state and federal level comes available.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion that we approve these plans for continuity of services.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, for the, yep, go ahead.
I had a quick question. I couldn't hear everything that you had mentioned earlier in this section, but I was wondering, and if you did speak to it, I apologize, but how about the continuity of services for food service? Was that mentioned for kids who would need some sort of food delivered like some of the other districts in our community are doing?
Yes.
Was that mentioned?
Yes.
Yep, and if you
Okay.
have access to your board docs, whether you do it now or later, but there's a schedule on there that you can reference for when pickups will be available for meals.
Okay, just as long as that's in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just so, because we don't have it on the board, for that food pickup, they would not be coming through the front doors. If we approve this, is the goal for them to come at a different entrance? Is that?
Yep, and there's a map provided.
Right, so I'm just verbalizing what people can't see.
This will
and-
go out to all families.
It'll
once
go
the-
out?
Yep, this will
Okay.
go, this communication
Excellent.
will go out to all families once the board has approved it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just for, I just think it's necessary to point out that our staff as a whole did a phenomenal job of getting materials and information ready to send home in a very short amount of time to prepare for this change. And as a board, I think that we just need to recognize the extra work that went into that and appreciation for their efforts to do what's best for students. So we thank you for the time and effort that you put into that and the thought. Does this need to be a roll call as well?
I
No.
don't think so. I think
Okay.
you can just do a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll move on to item C, to consider employee pay and benefits continuity plan.
Again, a rapid evolving situation, so the information that was sent to you today has now been modified slightly. It has not been modified on the document that you have, so everything would just be bumped up a day, as we were planning on ending classes, no classes on Wednesday, so take those dates and we're just bumping everything up through Tuesday. So right now, you have that schedule in front of you, who is a report, a don't report, or a remote staff member. I'm going to run through the district payroll piece and the other pieces, and then you guys can ask questions if you have any. As far as district payroll goes, we're going to use the next 2 days and deem them snow days as outlined in the employee handbook that was adopted last year. All staff will be paid as normal, including hourly employees, during this closure until April 6, 2020, as previously outlined by their notice of work assignment. Please note there is a possibility the district will need help with various projects during this extended closure, and assistance from those staff would be much appreciated. Staff will be contacted directly if their assistance is needed. Staff should use appropriate leave time if they were expecting to be absent, now just today, Monday, March 16th. Additional information, all buildings will be closed to all employees 3/17 as of 1 p.m. through 3/27, except administration, Mr. Predney and Ms. Vasquez, along with those food service staff that need to facilitate the ongoing food service services. Starting immediately, all extracurricular activities are suspended until April 6, 2020. Again, the school nutrition department will be distributing meals over this extended closure starting Wednesday, March 18th.
I'll entertain a motion to approve before we start the questions.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Can I just ask, board meetings will take place in this room as scheduled?
Yes.
And it open to the public?
They will remain open meetings, and we will adhere to any changes in the guidelines that have been given to us as those come forward.
Thank you.
Are bus drivers included in hourly staff, or do they fall
They're-
under
They're not our employees.
the own contract?
Yep,
Okay.
they're Badger Buses employees.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions? I appreciate the effort that you've gone to ensure that our staff are paid, because obviously this is out of everyone's hands.
Let's do a roll call vote on this.
We'll do a roll call vote.
Robert Mullen,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
We'll move on to item D, to consider personnel recommendations.
2 resignations before you this evening. Jennifer Swanson, middle school paraprofessional, 2 years of service. Jesse Pelote, middle school social studies teacher, 5 years of service, resigning at the end of the current contract year.
I'll entertain a motion to accept these resignations.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? We'd like to thank you for your service, years of service, and we'll give a round of applause for them. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're moving on to hirings.
Amanda Miller for the position of middle school track coach, replacing Lindsay McCone. Administrator making this recommendation is Mr. Lucius.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this hiring.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to item E, to the acceptance of donations.
So again, a very nice list of donations. We have a donation from UW Extension, Danette Hopke, a donation from Spunder Health, Carol Walters, from Helping Hands School Garden, Nikki Halverson, from Community Alliance for Prevention, Tammy Holman, from the Spooner Memorial Library, from State Farm Insurance, Jack Links Aquatic Center, Spooner High School Art Club, the Mental Health Task Force, Chet Hurt, Sikorsky Hearing Aid Center, Emily Severson, this Family Wellness Night, donated their time and table supplies. From the Lakeland Family Resource Center, Jackie Buckman. From the Spooner Chamber, Addie Erdman. Knights of Columbus Council 5397. Spooner Middle School Chess Club, Kevin McMullen. From Embrace, Jessica Christensen. Spooner High School Boys Basketball Team, Tom Clark, Chad Ackerson, Oliver Anklem. Indian Head Credit Union, Spooner Health, an Indian Head Credit Union towards the Family Wellness Night, Winter Emergency Car Care Kit and Ice Scraper, and a piggy bank. From Donna and Eric Dresco, Elementary and Middle School Gardens and Garden Education, $50 to help cover supply costs for replacing the garden beds. Washburn County Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse, or AODA grant, Community Alliance for Prevention. Prevention through mountain biking grant, $750 to be used to waive registration fees for at-risk students, as well as purchase bikes that students need in order to participate. Washburn County Alcohol and Other Drug grant to the 2020 Junior Prom, $750 to help fund the prom.
I'll entertain a motion to accept these donations.
I make a motion that we accept these donations with an expression of incredible gratitude for our community and all these sponsors. Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item F, the referendum update.
3 referendum presentations last week, one held at the Spunder Elementary School, one held at the Town of Trigo meeting, and another held for community leaders in the Spunder Elementary School cafeteria. In addition to that, because of COVID-19 and its impact really on all functions of government, questions about absentee ballot voting. We've been directed by county clerks to provide more ballots because of a brisk request for those ballots, and also put some information out today on the website about how to sign up for an absentee ballot, because the deadline to vote absentee is this Wednesday. So see that for more information.
Thank you. Any questions on the referendum? Okay. We're moving on to item G, to consider CISA 10 construction contract.
So we have Lance Gregory here with us.
Thank you all. I was here just going to do a quick recap. So I introduced some of our approach at CISA 10, and I'm going to go into the who, what, where, and how of the contract, and then I'll entertain any questions that you may have about specifics.
Could you speak a little louder?
Yeah, is this one on? Yeah, okay. How's that? There we go. All right. So this agreement is construction management as agent agreement. It's a standard agreement in the construction industry. You'll see this many times in public capital project construction projects. So what that means is a construction management as agent or agency is that none of the work is self-performed by CISA 10. It's overseen by our organization. Those actual construction work is bid out in competitive bids, and so you have a lot more flexibility and transparency in how you approach the project. Additionally, with the scheduling too. So how the contract is structured, CISA 10 is 1.5% of over project costs and time and materials. In our contract, we have a standard rate for our time and materials. You can see our project managers and the people that will be on site every day are at 106, and then we have our project coordinators and other support staff. One thing that sets us apart is we don't bring in additional resources from the get-go. We bring people in as needed. So any of our safety officers, any of our HVAC experts, any of our earthwork experts, those people are brought in through the phases as they're needed, and that helps us control our fees being a nonprofit. The other part of that is we don't mark up anything if there's measures that the district would self-perform or do, such as like an IT purchase or something like that. Those aren't actually marked up over the cost of the contract. We have a project administration team. So in that hourly rate, we have project coordinators, and then of course Luke Schultz and myself are more of our admin team. So we're quality assurance, quality control, and communication on the project. And CISA 10, the how of the contract, we're there for the schedule, the budgets, through the design phase, working with the architects and engineers, through the bidding phase with the district, the bid awards, the schedules, the contract negotiations. So we provide the school with all of our lawyer-reviewed school contracts that are beneficial to school districts and in hiring construction entities. So we help negotiate all those contracts, help get them under contract, and then manage the schedule and prosecution of the work. Why you'd want to use a CM agent, and looking ahead at the schedules, and why we'd want to look at approving the contract is it's about getting ahead of the game. So approving the CISA 10 contract allows us to start work on the referendum, and then as we get into the next phase of negotiating with the architects and engineers, we can negotiate those contracts, lock them in, divide up the work, and review any of the cost estimating, bidding, and scheduling, and get ahead of all those things. In the event of, the contract agreement is null and void, obviously, if the referendum doesn't pass or there's some other extenuating circumstances that delay. So right now, there's a lot of things going on. that our department's very keeping abreast of and monitoring as far as construction scheduling. One of the positives about the situation right now are the bond rates and the interest rates are really an advantageous situation for doing projects. So that's one of the silver linings, if there is one, with the financial situation. With that, I'd like to open it up, and I'm going to also share a document with you to have talks about a timeline of the next 12 months, looking at that schedule.
So, Mr. Gregorich, I just want to make sure that I have this correct. So you'd seek to have the board approve this contract at this time in anticipation of prompt start to work in the event of a successful referendum. And if I heard you correctly, if the referendum were to not be successful, then this contract would be null and void.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And I handed out a brief summary of a 12-month look ahead of the process. As you can see, we're currently in the April and June 2020 timeframe for this project. So the school, looking forward, moving with all deliberate speed, is looking to engage the financial consultant, which has already been done, preparing bonds and for the project. We've already worked with an architect and engineering firm, and the next step of that process would be negotiating that contract to start the design phase. This particular referendum project would be heavy design over the next few months. If you look at the July to September, that would be a continued design phase preparation, looking at different options, solidifying project budgets and schedule, and finishing any environmental impacts. And then in the October to December timeframe would be design approval, construction document, and bid processes being set forth at that time. January, February would be contract negotiations, awarding successful bidders, and then starting the construction phase 1 work March through December 2021.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you for all that information and for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion I'll
Make the motion.
that we approve this
We approve, yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
And we'll have a roll call vote.
See if there's any further.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion before we vote? All right, thank you.
Robert Olin.
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton.
Yes.
Kate McKinney.
Yes.
Aaron Birch. Deb Olson.
Yes.
Aaron Birch.
Yes.
Marcia Schurz.
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Thanks again. We'll be moving on to item H to consider the Spunder Elementary School English Language Arts and Math Interventionist position.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the recommendation of the administration.
To approve the Spunder Elementary School English Language Arts Math Interventionist position.
I'll second.
Any discussion? So
Taking into consideration the public comment tonight, can we monitor this behavioral issue in the elementary school to be sure that doesn't really seriously hamper that third grade class? Because it obviously is a fairly significant issue that we need to monitor.
Right. Do you want to?
Yeah, we can monitor it.
I guess is this our discussion time? I'm going to say I believe we've already addressed the behavioral issue. And I believe that this is completely separate. This is about educating our students. These are two different topics.
This is right to approve the position of the interventionist. And the plan moving forward was presented at the committee of the whole for the, how that was going to be met within our staffing. So I agree with you, Paul. I would, though, say that it would be wise to, especially even with the approval of a behavioral specialist at our last month's meeting, that might be where perhaps services are focused if possible. If we know that this is more challenging, and I think from a parental perspective and even being involved in classroom settings, we can look at data and analyze whether or not data has gone up and down with behavior, but there's another level that I think Mrs. Hine was trying to speak to on behaviors that get amplified and what staff has to do to try to maintain behaviors from exploding and from being significant behaviors. And some of that can't be assessed by data. You can't enter in an ODR or other pieces of information in our data collecting site. Some of that is tools in the classroom and dealing with students, which we can support. So I hope that going forward next year, and I know that our admin team has already talked about it and they're aware of it. It's so just that's on the forefront of their minds and our minds as a district. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to item I, to consider the purchase of Illuminate Education DNA program package. I'll make the motion that we approve this purchase.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Does this need to be a roll call vote?
Should be a roll call vote.
Robert Pullen,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Moving on to item J, to consider the first semester 2020-21 early college credit program and Start College Now applications.
I make a motion that we accept those.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I would just say this is something that comes up just for people in the community, that comes up, I don't know if it's quarterly, but it comes up regularly, that students put in so they can take these extra credits, and we approve them when they come up.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll be moving on to item K, to consider the 2020-2021 teacher contracts.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contracts with the recommendations that have been provided by the administration.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Do we need a roll call vote for this one?
Yes, I think you should have a vote.
Roll call, please.
Robert Pullen,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Moving on to item M, to consider the Spunder Middle School Wallsworth yearbook contract. I'm sorry, I skipped item L. First, we'll do the Spunder Elementary School Life Touch yearbook contract for 2020-2021.
I'll make a motion that we approve that contract.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on now to the Spunder Middle School Wallsworth yearbook contract for next year. I'll make a motion that we approve that contract.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item N, to consider the CISA 10 shared services contract. I'll entertain a motion that we approve that contract.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Roll call.
This will be a roll call vote.
Robert Olin,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Moving on to item O, to consider the CISA 11 shared services contract.
I'll make a motion that we approve that contract.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote again.
Robert Olin,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Moving on to item P, to consider the first reading of the Neola Volume 29, Number 1, Policy Update.
I'll make a motion that we approve those.
The many. I'll second that. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
We'll be moving on to Q, to consider the 2020-21 WIAA Girls Hockey Cooperative Renewal.
I'll make a motion that we approve the cooperative agreement.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are now going to move into the closed session part of our meeting, so I'll entertain a motion to move into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Roll.
second.
Roll call vote.
Robert Olin,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.